This is the Sports Gambling Podcast live on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Coming to you from the Circus Sportsbook here in downtown Las Vegas, I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's a Friday edition of Cashing Out here on VSiN. We are in for the Sports Gambling Podcast, guys. Ryan and Sean will be back next week, but this is a Friday of cashing tickets here on VSiN. You guys can hit me up on Twitter at Scott's On Air. Hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live as we are tracking the playoff action in progress right now in both the NBA and the NHL. We have Major League Baseball games going on, and of course, the NFL draft, where there was a shocker just earlier here in the third round, where quarterback Dillon Gabriel was selected 94th overall by the Cleveland Browns ahead of Shedeur Sanders. In fact, Jalen Milroe, Alabama quarterback, was selected 92nd overall by the Seattle Seahawks ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Now, I'm not going to spend so much time here on Sanders and the NFL draft. All I will say is that I've been vocal, not just on this network, but on any one of my outlets, about my thoughts on Sanders not being a first-round talent. Did I think that he would not be drafted ahead of Dillon Gabriel or Jalen Milroe? No. But there's an incredible article in The Athletic that was written by, and I want to give him proper attribution before I even, before I butcher the name, but I believe it was Derek Klassen. I'm going to try to get the actual proper, it's on Twitter at QBClass. Derek Klassen is his name. Wrote a great article in The Athletic, basically detailing all of the good stats and numbers surrounding Shedeur Sanders that on the surface, people will look at and say, oh, clearly a first-round talent, right? I mean, the school retired his number, right? That's a whole conversation for another day. But if you actually dive further inside the numbers, if you watch the film and take away certain things from his stats, you can actually paint a clearer picture of the type of quarterback that Sanders is, and it's not a first-round talent. It's a project. And do teams want to invest early-round picks in a quarterback that is more a project rather than an NFL-ready contributor? And that's the bottom line. So, yeah, in the third round, in the fourth round, absolutely. Go ahead and take him. In the first round, no thanks. In the top 10, absolutely not. Highly recommend that article. But again, I'm not going to go so much into the Shedeur Sanders talk here because this is about cashing tickets and we're about making money here on the program. Here in Vegas, the draft markets closed 24 hours prior to the draft beginning, and the live draft markets not so plentiful, if you will. No one really offering anything to be betting on right now. So we're going to stay away from a lot of the draft talk, and let's talk about how we can make money tonight here on the show. We are at the half between the Lakers and the Timberwolves. This is Game 3 of their Western Conference Final first-round series, where the Lakers had home court advantage and were pretty sizable favorites to win this series prior to Game 1 tipping off. Game 1, the Lakers absolutely laid an egg. They lose 117-95. Market flips, goes in favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then the Lakers come out in an incredible bounce back spot and win 94-85 in game number 2. So the series now shifts to Minnesota for Game 3 here tonight. And so far at the half, this is what we have. Lakers, 58. Timberwolves, 54. This game, to me, was a stay away from the start. I leaned Minnesota because I think the market is overreacting to the Game 2 bounce back from the Lakers and is not respecting Minnesota enough. The Timberwolves are a good team. The Timberwolves do things that can bother the Los Angeles Lakers. And when the Lakers don't hit all of their threes, when they don't start their games 5 of 8, 7 of 9 from three-point range, they're going to struggle. When they roll out a game plan like they had in game one, where Luka Doncic dominated the possession, and LeBron James goes the first 15 minutes of the game without registering a single point, assist, or rebound, they're not going to win many games that way. Going into this game, Timberwolves 4-point favorites. They opened up at 2.5. The money came in on Minnesota. I agreed with that money. I leaned towards Minnesota. Because if you think about it, it just, to me, the home court in the first game has to mean more. And I think it does in this spot. Diving inside the box score in this game, LeBron James has 22 points, so he's come out and he's really shot the ball well and, done the most for the Lakers, 9 of 12 from the field. Luka struggling, just 3 of 9 from the field for 8 points. Austin Reeves, 4 of 8 from three-point range, so cash the Austin Reeves three-point prop. Little betting FOMO for not going back to the well with that. That's something that I had been betting a lot here in the postseason. And he has 14 points. So LeBron with 22 and Austin Reeves with 14. Those are your top scorers right now for the Lakers. For the Timberwolves, Julius Randle's got 14. Jaden Daniels has 14. Anthony Edwards has 12 points on 5 of 14 shooting. As we dive further into the box score, the Lakers, 9 of 21 from three-point range. The Timberwolves, 4 of 17. 9 of 21 is not great numbers. It is 43%. Timberwolves, though, that's abysmal. 23.5%. And you would think at home, those are numbers that turn themselves around. And so if I was to make a second-half bet in this game, it would be on the Minnesota Timberwolves. And right now, down by 4 points, you can get the Timberwolves plus 1.5 for the game on DraftKings. Let me look at the other markets here, look at the second half spreads. So we have 1.5 is the second half, minus 1.5 is what the second half line is, which means if they lose the game by 2, then that's it, you're covering, which is essentially, that's that live line at plus 1.5 for the game. Or if they come back and win the game. I think for me, a better play is going to be on the team totals in this game. So the Timberwolves are at 54 points. Their live adjusted team total is 105.5. That means we're asking them to score 51. That number is 51.5 for the second half. That is a number I want to go over. They scored 54 points in the first half. They were 4 of 17 from three-point range. That's going to turn itself around on their home floor. They only scored 22 points in the second quarter. That's not going to continue. I think we'll see a good scoring half from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I know second halves tend to go under in the playoffs. The games tend to go under in the playoffs. In fact, unders have just been dominating in the NBA playoffs right now. I'll give you those exact numbers in just a moment. But looking at this box score, knowing that I already leaned Minnesota, rather than play them at the minus 1.5 for the second half, because, yeah, they could lose by 2, sure, and I can win this bet. They can come back and win the game, and I certainly win the bet. I don't want to run the risk of it being an even second half, or even the Lakers pulling away and winning this game by 6 to 10, something in that range. I would just rather play. I'd rather back Minnesota as a correlated play in the second half team total. So give me the Minnesota Timberwolves over 51.5 points for the second half. Now, if your book doesn't offer a second half team total, we'll simply just look at their adjusted team total for the game, because right now it is at 105.5. And so that's a number I would play over. They have 54 points, right? 51 puts it at 105. 51.5 will be 105.5. So over 51.5 points in the second half of the Timberwolves, or the adjusted team total over 105.5 would be my play for the second half between the Lakers and the Timberwolves, Game 3 from Minnesota. Earlier this evening, we had the Magic defeating the Celtics as they win at home in the zig-zag spot, where they lose the first two games on the road, bounce back here at home. 95-93, Boston leads that series 2-1, and you know what that means. We are on a system play for the next time these two teams play, where we will go the Orlando Magic team total under. That is the system. After a Celtics loss, the opponent's team total to go under. That game will be on Sunday. Total in that is very low at 197.5. Boston is already up to a 7.5-point favorite in that game. I would go Magic team total under. And then the Bucks got their win on their home floor, 117-101 over the Pacers, trailing in the first half. It was a dominant second half for the Bucks as they score, 70 points in that second half. Giannis with 37 points and 12 boards. Big win for Milwaukee on their home floor as they now trail the series 2-1. Now, this zig-zag worked for the full game, didn't work for the first half spread as they were losing going into the halftime break. We'll update you on the series prices in these NBA playoffs coming up. Plus, we are underway second period action between the Oilers and the Kings from Edmonton, and overtime, baby, between the Devils and the Hurricanes, Game 3 from New Jersey. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Cashing Out, Friday edition, here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's Cashing Out here on a Friday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Always on Twitter at Scott's On Air and at VSiN Live. Speaking of Twitter, my goodness, did I have a tweet go viral this week? Yesterday. I tweeted about Shedeur Sanders, and let's just say it is a polarizing topic. And so it has gotten a lot of recognition, I guess, if that's the word. My tweet was, quote, "You're telling me the most sacked quarterback in college football last year with the 110th slowest time to throw out of 156 quarterbacks was not appealing to NFL teams in the first round? If his last name was not Sanders, this wouldn't be a story." And then I wanted to remind people that, once again, the NFL teams just know more than you. And people have reactions to that, like NFL teams are dumb. And my response is just, I'm sorry, what team do you work for? These NFL talent evaluators know more than all of us in the media, that know all of us football fans, know more than all of us football fans. Like, we love to play our couch quarterback, right? Armchair quarterback, that's what it's called when we're on our lazy boys. But these NFL talent evaluators, these scouts, they know more than all of us. They have more information on these players than we could ever imagine. Now, I'm not going to speculate as to reasons why Sanders hasn't been drafted yet. Do I have opinions? Absolutely. But could there be other things beyond what we see on film? Or what we watch when we watch the games on television? Absolutely. You know why? Because these NFL teams have resources that we don't. You ever wonder why, and this happens, I apologize if this is a bad example to bring up, but whenever a player gets in trouble with the law, let's say, and an article comes out, and you're wondering, well, why hasn't Goodell suspended this guy? Or why was there some sort of punishment or something, even though they were found to be not guilty? Like people speculate on these things. Well, the NFL has private investigators that are former government agents, the professional investigators that certainly find out a lot more than we, the public, will ever find out. Their medical staffs find out more information than all of us pretend doctors could ever find out. And their psych evals, the interview process, all these little things, they know so much more than we do. Do NFL teams make mistakes? All the time they make mistakes. Do players that get drafted late wind up being incredible players? Yes. Obviously, Tom Brady's the greatest example, but Brock Purdy's a pretty darn good example in recent history. Right? Teams get it wrong. There's high draft picks that are busts. There's low draft picks that wind up being generational talents. But to sit here and be keyboard cowboys and claim that something's rigged or that we know something that these teams don't know, and why was he not drafted? It's not for you to decide. When these teams are investing millions of dollars and their future on these players, they're going to do their due diligence. And if they don't like what they're seeing, they're not going to take them. And so far, no one's liked what they've seen because he has not been selected. The Raiders, who had 2 picks here in the 3rd round, chose to not take Shedeur Sanders. We will monitor the NFL draft as the 3rd round progresses here this evening. Keeping an eye on what's going on in both the NBA and NHL playoffs. We did play the team total for the Timberwolves to go over in the second half of 51.5, or their adjusted team total for the game at 105.5 to go over. They open up the 3rd quarter with a 3-pointer, so happy about that. We're 3 points less than our target goal right now. Could we have played the entire second half to go over? Yeah, sure. That's fine. But really, my handicap was not on, both teams to go back and forth and score. It was on the Minnesota Timberwolves to score. And so I didn't want to get burned in a situation where Minnesota does what the Bucks did, right? And the Bucks score 70 points in the second half and hold the Pacers to 42 points? So it can happen. Like, what if Minnesota goes off here for 60 points and they hold the Lakers to 40? And guess what? The second half doesn't go over. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying I didn't want to be in a situation for that to happen. So instead, I chose to go with the Timberwolves in the second half on their team total. And if I was on the air, I would have told you we're going to go with the Bucks team total to go over in the second half. Just at home, the shooting variance, it happens. It evens out. So you're ice cold in the first half, and then you got a guy like Gary Trent that hits 9 3-pointers for the Bucks. Or here for the Timberwolves, you're 4 of 17 in the first half from 3-point range. You hit your first 3 to start the 3rd quarter. Like, it's just going to go back and forth, okay? That's what we're going to see. And so we'll monitor this game as the second half progresses. On the ice, we are still in overtime. The Devils and the Hurricanes are tied at 2. Now, the Hurricanes came into this game with a 2-0 series lead, and they got goals by Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis to even up the Devils, who got goals by Nico Hischier and Dawson Mercer. Devils took a 1-0 lead, and then the Devils actually were up 2-0, and then 2 unanswered goals in the 3rd period by the Hurricanes knotted the game up at 2. Devils are on a power play with about 3 minutes or so left in overtime as New Jersey looks to really avoid the 0-3 hole. Also looking to avoid the 0-3 hole, and this is a game that I am on, a team that I am on, the Edmonton Oilers playing their first home game of this series against the LA Kings. Edmonton had a 2-0 lead and has just seen that 2-0 lead evaporate. Adrian Kempe scores with about 3 minutes or so left in the first period to make a 2-0 game a 2-1 game, and Kevin Fiala has just scored for the Kings on the power play. It is a 2-2 game in Edmonton between the Oilers and the Kings, and the big reason for my handicap on this game being the Edmonton Oilers, and really heavily convinced that Edmonton's going to win this game, and I was very happy when they jumped out into the 2-0 lead, is because I was very confident in them playing at home versus the Kings on the road. And for those who have listened to me or have watched me all throughout this NHL season, you know I've talked about it a lot. The LA Kings were the best home team in the NHL this year. The best. Out of 42 games that they played at home this year, they had 31 wins. 31 wins is the most for any team in the NHL on home ice. Tied with the Carolina Hurricanes. 31 wins on home ice. They only lost 6 times in regulation on home ice. 4 overtime losses. But on the road, different story. 17, 19, and 5 on the road for the Kings. And their goaltender, Darcy Kemper, who's a Vezina finalist, he's not going to win, but he's a Vezina finalist. He, at home, unreal stats. Literally the best stats you're going to see from a goaltender on their home ice. On the road is a different story, though. This is a different team away from LA, and I wanted to fade that. Plus, we had Edmonton playing with desperation on home ice, looking to avoid going down 3-0. And yeah, in hockey, it's happened. Teams have come back from a 3-0 deficit, more so than, obviously, in any other sport. We've never seen it in the NBA. We've seen it in baseball. Don't remind me about that year. But we've seen it in hockey a couple of times. No one wants to be in that situation. So I expected a big, big bounce back here from the Oilers. Once again, they were up 2-0, but now it is tied at 2. Major League Baseball will update you on the Dodgers-Pirates game, Paul Skeens versus Yamamoto. I did play the first 5 under 4.5, and it is 2-0 Pirates, top of the 5th inning. So we'll keep monitoring that. Speaking of baseball, ProfitX is offering the best odds on baseball all season long. ProfitX is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40-plus states, the first of its kind in the U.S. You'll be able to make sports picks against other groups of fans rather than against sportsbooks, and exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. Download ProfitX today with code VSIN and earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. The three-pointers are raining in Minnesota. Tell you about it coming up next. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Cashing Out here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's Cashing Out on a Friday here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network. You guys can hit me up on Twitter at ScottsOnAir. Hit us all up on the network at VSIN Live. We are tracking our second half bet on the Minnesota Timberwolves team total to go over 51.5, or if you just played the adjusted team total for the game, that would be over 105.5. And a large reasoning for us playing this was because of the 3-point variance that I believed would even itself out, especially at home in the second half. If you looked at the first half numbers, the Timberwolves started the game 4 of 17 from 3-point range. They started the second half 4 of 7 from 3-point range. Right now, it is a 72-70 lead for the Timberwolves over the Lakers. And looking at your live lines right now on this game, let's see. We have Timberwolves minus 2.5 on your live line. They closed at 4-point favorites, minus 2.5 now with your live total of 214.5 between the Timberwolves and the Lakers. It is a 74-70 lead for the Wolves over the Lakers right now. Your live line has just been adjusted to Timberwolves minus 3.5. In Major League Baseball, we teased it before the last break, but we did play a couple of first fives to go under, and the first one was between the Pirates and the Dodgers from L.A. Paul Skeens, you got a really nice plus money price on Paul Skeens going up against Yamamoto. Now, both Yamamoto's been great to start the year. Paul with a 0.93 ERA. Paul Skeens, not so much. I mean, he's had his moments. He did have that bad outing where he gave up the 5 runs, but for the most part, it's a prototypical Skeens season, if you will. And I'm going to be really upset if I lose this bet because of the Pirates scoring runs. Because when I placed this first 5 bet, I did not think that my sweat was going to be on the Pirates offense against Yoshinobu Yamamoto and his 0.98 ERA. However, this is a sweat right now. The Pirates scoring 1 run in the top of the first inning. So imagine that. How many people bet the Nerfy in this game because it was Skeens against Yamamoto? But the Pirates score 1 run in the top of the first inning. This is a 1-0 game going to the top of the 5th inning. The Pirates score 2 runs in the top of the 5th inning and have 2 runners on base. And now finally Yamamoto gets out of it. So it is 3-0 Pirates going to the bottom of the 5th. All we got to do is just get 3 outs. And we don't have to worry about it. We're going to sweat these 3 outs here from Paul Skeens right now in LA. Skeens has gone 4 innings, allowed only 3 hits with 4 strikeouts, 0 walks. Meanwhile, Yamamoto, after giving up those 2 runs in the top of the 5th, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, only 1 of them earned though, and 4 walks to go along with 5 strikeouts. I would imagine Yamamoto is done for the night because he is at 94 pitches right now. Paul Skeens, though, only at 66, so he will be out there for the bottom of the 5th inning. Just get us the 3 outs. We can cash our first 5 under for this game. A first 5 under that we already did cash was between the Braves and the Diamondbacks. This is Chris Sale against Zach Gallen, and this was a 3-1 lead for the Braves after 5 innings, cashes the under 4.5. And the reason why I played this is simple. I wanted to fade the recency bias. And I think sometimes you get a lot of value in the betting markets when you simply fade recency. We know that in Major League Baseball, it is a long, grueling season, 162 games. And the old saying, and I've made jokes about this in the past, so forgive me if I make another joke about it, and you guys are like, I've heard you make that one before, Scott. But the saying is that a player will always play to the back of his baseball card. And I made that comment here on the air, and I joked around that I'm like, do cards even have stats anymore in the back? I know they definitely don't have bubble gum anymore. That was the best. Anyway, the reason for that saying is because over the course of a long baseball season, these players tend to regress to the mean. They play to their career stats. You might have an anomaly, and one guy will have just an absurd month or two, but then they'll come back down to earth, and it happens the other way. A guy could be slumping for a long period of time, and then they come back, or they have a great run in the second half, and they wind up playing to their averages. Well, if you look at Chris Sale, we certainly know what he is. We know what Chris Sale is through his career. Heck, we saw what he did last year. But Sale, with a 6.17 ERA coming into this game, that's not the Chris Sale that we know. And Zach Gallen also, who was a perennial Cy Young contender, he comes into this game with a 5.6 ERA. And yeah, we can look inside the advanced numbers and go look at their FIP or their expected ERAs or even the xFIPs. But to me, it was fading the recency. It was fading the idea that Chris Sale and Zach Gallen just don't have it anymore. And so I said, you know what? Wouldn't it just be something if these guys go out and pitch a gem against each other? Just an absolute duel. Well, Chris Sale, 5 innings, 5 hits, only 1 run allowed. Zach Gallen, 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs allowed on 6 strikeouts. So 3-1 after 5. It is now 5-1 Braves going to the bottom of the 6th inning. And I would imagine Sale is out of the game because he is at 104 pitches. Other games in progress right now in Major League Baseball. Bottom of the eighth inning, the Reds an 8-7 lead over the Rockies in Colorado. We are going to the bottom of the eighth inning in Seattle. The Marlins an 8-4 lead over the Mariners. Top of the eighth inning in San Diego. The Rays with a 1-0 lead over the Padres. The Padres in jeopardy right now of losing just their second home game of the year. They are 12-1 at home this year. Top of the seventh in Sacramento. The White Sox and A's are tied at 2. We are in the bottom of the fifth inning, as I mentioned, between the Pirates and the Dodgers. 3-0. Pirates lead the Dodgers. Bottom of the fifth inning in San Francisco. The Rangers a 1-0 lead over the Giants. Earlier today, it was the Cubs blanking the Phillies 4-0. Philadelphia is in a slide right now. 5 straight losses for the Phillies after they got swept by the New York Mets. We have a goal here by the LA Kings that is not good for my Edmonton Oiler bet. It looks like, I wonder if there's going to be a challenge here, because it looks like Stuart Skinner is not happy with something here, and he was pointing to something, maybe pointing to the official, but we'll see what call that is going to be. Meanwhile, I don't think there's a challenge. And it looks like, so Calvin Pickard started. So it was Calvin Pickard who was pointing at somebody. I don't know if he was pointing because it was he thought he was interfered with. I'm looking at the replay. Okay. There was contact made, but I don't think there was enough to be challenged, and no, they are not challenging it. So looks like LA has taken a 3-2 lead, no official challenge. There you go, the puck has dropped. And listen, if you run a big risk here by challenging something in a playoff game, if you are wrong on the challenge and you then go down a man, because the punishment for failing a challenge it's a bench minor, which means the other team is going on a power play. And so think about that. You just gave up a goal. It is a 3-2 game. There's still plenty of hockey left. This is the second period. But it's a 3-2 game. If you lose that challenge, all of a sudden, you're on your team takes a penalty. You got to kill off 2 minutes. The other team could score a power play, and all of a sudden a 2-2 game where you thought, hey, we're going to win the challenge and it's going to be tied 2-2, you could be down 4-2 in a blink of an eye. And that is a bad spot to put your team in. So you better be sure, if you're going to challenge something here in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you better be sure that you're going to win that challenge. And it looks like the Edmonton Oilers crew was not convinced that they were going to win the challenge, even though Pickard did seem to be bothered by what was happening there, and he thought that he had been contacted, but nothing there. 3-2, LA leads Edmonton. Again, we're still in the second period, so we got plenty of time here to have an Oilers comeback. Just a little over 3 minutes left, now under 3 minutes left in the second period. We need an Oilers comeback. Hey, the NBA playoffs are here, and so is the VSiN Killer Sports NBA Playoff Challenge. Now, we've invited 15 sharp minds from the world of VSiN and Killer Sports to go head-to-head, making 38 picks each from the start of the playoffs all the way through the NBA Finals. That's a total of 570 playoff picks, and guess what? All available to VSiN Pro subscribers. Picks are locked in an hour before the first game each day, so you're going to have fresh insights into making the best bets that you can. Right now, you can get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59. Don't miss this playoff edge. Head to vsin.com/subscribe to sign up today. Joining us next will be Kieran Sprecher from RotoWire. I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at ScottsOnAir. You can hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live. What a back and forth game we have on the ice as the Oilers blow a 2-0 lead. And LA scores 3 unanswered to take a 3-2 lead. Edmonton, in that commercial break that we just had, scored a goal to tie the game and make it 3-3. And then seconds later, literally off the next faceoff, the Kings go down and score a goal. It is 4-3 LA with under 2 minutes to go in the second period. That is one that we will for sure be sweating out. Meanwhile, we are at the end of the third quarter in Minnesota. Timberwolves lead the Lakers 86-84, and for those who are on the second half team total with us on Minnesota, they have had 32 points in the third quarter, meaning 20 points in the fourth quarter, and we will cash the over 51 and a half. Joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line from RotoWire, he is Kieran Sprecher. Kieran, thanks so much for joining us here on the program. And let's start with this Minnesota-LA game. What has surprised you or maybe not surprised you about what we've seen through three quarters, and what do you expect to happen in the fourth quarter?
I mean, Minnesota's been a huge surprise to me so far in the postseason. I think when you look at these two teams on paper, you're like, yeah, they match up pretty similarly. In my heart, being a huge NBA fan, taking Julius Randle over Luka and LeBron James in a postseason series, even in the year 2025, still seems crazy to me. But Minnesota has more than proven themselves. Julius Randle has been absolutely fantastic, and starting to take over. Minnesota is fully in control of this series, and that's a huge surprise to me.
If they win this game tonight and they go up 2-1, does LA come back, tie the series, take it back to LA at 2-2? Or do you see Minnesota riding this wave, riding this momentum, and taking a 3-1 series lead?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would probably put money on LeBron bouncing back and not falling down 3-1 and keep making this a series. But it's all going to be on Luka to me, and Austin Reeves and the other guys for this Lakers team. I feel like Luka, the defense for the Lakers has been fantastic since the Luka trade, which I did not see coming, but it's true, and the numbers tell us that. But Luka hasn't been as efficient. The counting numbers weren't always going to be there when you come and you play with LeBron and you have to share the ball with Austin Reeves, but he just hasn't been efficient. Luka needs to be that guy for the Lakers to make this a series, and if he doesn't, Minnesota is going to be going back to LA up 3-1 for sure.
Well, let's take a look at the games coming up here for Saturday. We have 4 exciting playoff games, and one that starts bright and early, well, here on the West Coast, but it is a 1 o'clock Eastern time tip in Miami. The Heat trailing the Cavs 2-0, looking at Cleveland 5.5-point favorites or so, and with a total of 213.5. Now, why is this important? Well, there's a betting system that I've been on, Kieran, for years now, and I'm going to continue to be on it, is these playoff games that start at 1 o'clock Eastern or before. It is an auto under for me. In fact, these games are 13-2 to the under since the start of the 2021 season, going under by 11.2 points per game. What's your handicap on this game?
Yeah, no, I really like that. I think it's, maybe we're getting a little sidetracked here, but I think it's just absolutely ridiculous that these guys are professional athletes. They play 80 games in a season, and they condition themselves, to play at 7 o'clock or, 10 o'clock. And those are the two normal time slots. And then, huge game 3, biggest game of the season, and we're playing at 1 Eastern. Like, it's just that's just a sidetrack, silly story to me, and it happens all the time. It happens with all different sports, but it's absolutely ridiculous. I love the under here. I also love Cleveland to cover 5.5 or 6. We're going back to Miami. Does that change things? Not in my mind. Cleveland dominated game 1 behind Mitchell, Garland, and Jerome. Those guys scored 85 points in game 1. Game 2 was a little bit closer, but the Cleveland offense was still too much. And Jerome, Hunter, Merrill off the bench. We're seeing the back and forth between Darius Garland calling out Tyler Hero and then Tyler Hero responding. Cleveland's offense is too much. They've been one of the best offenses in the league all season long. And when you have a guy like Tyler Hero, you're going to get picked on. Cleveland's just too much. What the hope for Miami is kind of what we saw with Orlando, right? Orlando got blown out in game 1, and then game 2 was a little bit closer, and then they go home for game 3, and they pull off the huge upset tonight against the Celtics, who were without Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum battling injuries too. But the Magic have, a clear recipe for an upset win like that. They have an elite defense. They have Paolo and Franz, who are budding superstars. They have a future. The Magic they're trying to build something now in the offseason and be like, remember when we got that win against the Celtics? We can go toe-to-toe with those guys. Miami's not really in that spot, right? Miami's They traded Butler. They're kind of in a limbo sort of situation. So I think this series is over. I think Cleveland gets the job done in Miami. Darius Garland is questionable. He got a toe injury. It's the optics of calling someone out and saying, yeah, we're just going to ISO this dude all day, and then showing up on the injury report as questionable with a toe injury is a little funny to me too. But Cleveland's the clear better team, and I don't give Miami much of a home field advantage in this one, home court advantage in this one.
So I mentioned the unders since the start of the 2021 season. Any playoff game starting at 1 o'clock Eastern time has gone under 13-2 to the under. But the favorites in those games, like the Cleveland Cavaliers are here, 12-3, both straight up in ATS. So good numbers backing the Cleveland Cavaliers here in this spot. Let's take a look at the Thunder at the Grizzlies. OKC is been dominant in this series. They come back from 29 points down. It doesn't matter. Memphis goes scoreless for the final 4 minutes of the game. Bad beat if anybody had their team total over 109.5, because they were at 108 with 4 minutes left, and they didn't score another basket. I tweeted out last night here, and they scored more points in the first quarter and then more points in the second quarter than they did the entire second half. Do you have Oklahoma City wrapping this one up with ease?
Yes, I do. And guys, I don't want this to be an indictment on the Grizzlies. They fired their coach. Coach is. And that second half performance, I don't want you to blame any of the Grizzly players. This is all because of the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder are built for war. Last year, everybody wants to talk about, oh, they got knocked out early. This team, we don't know if they're built for the playoffs. This team has heard all of those criticisms. They're coming for the sweep. They're going to get this sweep, and then they're going to sit back on their couch eating popcorn, and they're going to watch her and the Clippers and the rest of the Western Conference and the rest of the playoffs battle each other out, taking their time, resting, scouting, watching film, doing whatever. This is going to be a sweep. That game the other night, OKC was down 20. They took a timeout. I'm like, I might want to bet the money line here. OKC, they won by 50 game one. They're going to come back. OKC was like plus 105, even though they were down 20. And then I don't know what it was when it got to 29, but OKC's built for war. They just showed what they can do in one half. They frankly did that in the first half of game one too. Even if, Ja Morant's not going to play in this game, that's probably like the biggest news. He took that big fall. That's worth mentioning. Even if Ja Morant was playing, I think this would be a double-digit spread, and I would still be on OKC. Desmond Bane, 38 points in 3 games for the Grizzlies. He's going to need to be the X factor if the Grizzlies are going to cover this. And I just think OKC has way too many wing defenders to make Desmond Bane's life miserable for him to have a 20, 25 plus game. And if that doesn't happen, I have OKC winning by 20 again.
Clippers certainly looked impressive in their first playoff game at the Intuit Dome. Now 6.5-point favorites here over the Nuggets in game number 4. What do you like?
Yeah, I like the Clippers pulling off another W. You said first playoff game at Intuit. This Clippers team, one of the best teams over the last 2 months of the season. Mm-hmm. And I feel like people around the NBA, it's been the same story for the last 5 or 6 years. It's like, well, the Clippers. And then you get a little excited about the Clippers and you're like, well, wait until Kawhi Leonard, inevitably gets hurt. And that's, don't want to take any easy shots at Kawhi Leonard. That's just been the fact of the matter, right? The Clippers look great. When Kawhi's healthy, Kawhi gets hurt. They don't look great. He's healthy right now. The James Harden, Zubac pick and roll is fantastic. I think the Clippers could easily be up 3-0 in this series. But I think they get another win at home here and go back to Denver 3-1. The coaching situation, Denver, Memphis firing their coaches. This is just too much. I think it was Van Gundy on the ESPN broadcast the other day, and he's like, when you're in a playoff series, it's not just like the head coach, is like, here's the game plan, right? It's all of the coaches, it's all of the assistant coaches doing advanced scouting and whatever. And when you fire that, and when you send ripple effects into your organization like that, it's really hard to play as one in the playoffs. And so I just can't trust Denver, even though Nikola Jokic is, probably should have been the MVP again. It's too much right now. The Clippers are too good, and I don't think Denver has enough, especially off the bench.
Kieran Sprecher from RotoWire. Great stuff, man. Appreciate the time and the insight. Good luck with your bets.
You too, man. Thanks for having me on, Scott.
There he is, Kieran, joining us on the Progressive guest line. Let me tell you guys about Edge Boost, the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums. Earn cash back rewards. 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with promo code CASH. Deposit $25 and Edge Boost will match the deposit. That's edgeboost.bet. This is Cashing Out right here on VSiN.